All right, recording started. This is just kind of like a random, what do we call these things? Live stream. It's a random live stream we're doing in the morning. I wanted to show some Degen things. I wanted to show some, we'll look at a couple long-term plays as well. What else? Yeah, I mean, those are the main two things. I want to show a couple more, a couple of our channels here that have changed somewhat and let you know how to use those. I think it'll be very important. So, Hobart, Ayo, and Mashina are in here with us. And if y'all have any questions, again, feel free to ask. And we'll look over whatever token you want to look at. But we'll probably do this for about an hour or so. I got a full day of work ahead of me. I do work a full-time job. Okay, so hey Rab, welcome. So let me just talk about our new channels here very briefly. Find which ones it is. I mean, these channels have been here for a little bit, but I just want to let you know, and I'm going to bring it up on a different screen here just so it's larger. And I'm only going to touch on this for maybe a minute, and then we'll move on to like Degen plays, stuff like that. All right, so this whale accumulation alert, I'll show you what the alert looks like just in case you're curious. So you have an idea of what is being tracked in there and how you can take advantage of it. And a lot of it is long-term plays. So what we have in there is a whale movement tracker for large transfers of money, an AI token signal detection for early movers, and a smart money early detection for like a pump hunter type thing. So if we, if I dig into this and look and see what we're looking at, it's basically all smart money traders. That's what we're tracking. Smart money, the reason why it's so important, just so you know, is they tend to be early. They don't always sell at the right time, but the main thing is they're always early. So they get in there before retail, they get there before whales usually. So, it's very important. That's kind of like the basis of everything we do here, is we want to know who's buying early. Maybe the play doesn't work out, maybe it does, but if we have that early information, it gives us a huge edge. So this one here, we're looking at any market cap over $1 million. And if it sees a minimum value of 50K USD purchased in one purchase, then we know that, smart money has purchased something in that regard. So here's the AI token early movers. What we're looking at with that, again, is smart money, anything from 10 million to $1 billion market cap. I think that's it on that one, yeah. And then the third one in that same channel is called a pump hunter. It looks for inflows, and when I talk about inflows, that means if they buy tokens from an exchange and it flows into their wallet, in this case, that's what that means. So if 19,000 worth flows into their wallets within an hour, or 48,000 within a day, or 250,000 within 7 days, then this thing's going to post, what that play is on there. And we're just looking at smart money in this case on that as well. So that, you're seeing cow here. Here's the inflow, 91,000. You've got one receivers. That's one smart money wallet has bought that much. And these, just understand one thing, these aren't always accurate as far as, it looks like it's smart money buying, but sometimes they're just transferring tokens from one wallet to another. So I do check it sometimes just to verify that, but usually it is them buying. Let's see what else. Yeah, Arrow's been showing up a lot here. We can just take a look at that and see what it's doing. But just click through if you have Nansen, and really there's no reason not to at least try Nansen for 1 month at this point, because it's very cheap in comparison to what it was before. So this is Aerodrome on base. We can get it to load here. The main thing you want to look at is over here to see what's happened over the last 24 hours. Fresh wallets are buying a ton, like over $180 million worth. Top P&L traders are selling some, which, that's not that big of a deal. We don't have any smart money in it yet, so that's really when it will pump, is when smart money jumps in. So right now it's just kind of grinding up. It's gone up about 2x since down here. Yeah, so Arrow's looking fine. Volume's increasing. You want to see that. So those are some of the things you want to look at when you're looking at these tokens. To Astra showing up there. So my goal is with making these, here's an order showed up twice in a row, but my goal in putting these in this channel is so that hopefully we can find some tokens that haven't moved yet. We can jump into them. Here's what order looks like. Let me find it. I already had it up here somewhere. There it is. So orderly network. Whales have purchased a ton over the last 24 hours. Fresh wallets have bought a lot as well. So you're seeing these big volume multipliers here, meaning that there's a lot more interest in this token right now. There are some top P&L traders that are taking profits here. That's understandable. It had a big pump. They're just taking advantage of that short-term move. But the main thing that you're looking for is, if you're holding long-term on a token like this, then you want to see this volume increase. And then once you see that first volume increase, you can jump in on any dip. But this is kind of like a cup and handle formation right there. And then once it breaks this, whatever that is, 37 cents, then it's ready to go much higher. But yeah, that one's looking pretty good there. Yeah, so there's that one, and there's volume alerts and listings. All this one does is just tries to find things that have pumped 100% that you can take advantage on a short play. If it goes up 100% really quick, sometimes there's an option to, grab that move back down so you can make some money off of that short. And you really need engineering robo for that, by the way, on the 5-minute chart. And I've done a video on that. I'll link it later if you missed it. But yeah, I also wanted to show to give you these as well, like Pump BTC. It's down 15% twice here. Code Mong COAI is down 15%. So sometimes you can take advantage of these where they dip a lot, and then you can take advantage on buying it back on the bottom. But you need some signals to show you that it's ready to go first. Okay, y'all are all still with me. That's good. I didn't want you to fall asleep. So now the fun part. I mean, again, let me look at chat and make sure I'm not missing anything first. But let's see here. I'm just looking on my other screen. Yeah, it is being recorded, AO. And yeah, Rab, you're listening from work. You're usually at work, aren't you? I think Oracle was one of the ones that showed up this morning as well. Yeah, I don't think I talked about this one yet, did I? So you got smart money buying. You got some tokens are going on to the exchange. This may be confusing. It was to me at first, but if you see tokens that are being moved onto the exchange, that usually means that they're being put there to get ready to sell them. So it could create some downward pressure, but that's really not much money, 36,000. So whales are buying, public figures are buying, smart money's buying. This is a dip after a big pump. Well, I'll say it's a big pump. I actually don't know what that is. Okay, so it's about a 3x. So this could represent an opportunity to buy right here, actually, because it had a significant dip down to the 786 here, and you don't have to pull the fibs out on moves like this. What you can think of is, okay, this token went up, and I'm expecting it to come back down. If I'm just talking about this move right here, I'm expecting it to retrace at least 50% of that move. So you just think in your mind, okay, on this chart, about what is half of this move? It's somewhere in here, and that'll tell you about where it's probably going to bounce if it's going to. So now you got some kind of bull flag going on right here. This is Oracle Degen. I'll paste it in the chat just in case you want to bring it up. Oops, I'll close the chat on the other screen. And I'll type it in there. And actually, where did I see that? Oracle. I think I saw it. Oh, YGG showed up. So I'm noticing a pattern here where some gaming tokens like Super is a gaming or metaverse token. YGG is a gaming token as well. So, maybe that's a thing that's going to start happening soon. If you can't find something, just grab the, either type in the name up here in our chat, in our search. And search through all the channels. Is this one it? Oh, that's right. That's where I saw it. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. So if you go down here to 1x by early alpha, this is the absolute earliest you can find any of these tokens, that are like Degen plays. So Oracle Degen, it's ODEGEN at 3:29 my time. The first smart money wallet bought it, and you can verify. I mean, if you see the seedling right here, that means it's brand new, at least to our chat. And if you see this repeat emoji, that means, you know, it showed up a second time on the chat, but you can also search it up here and see how many times it's actually showed up. So here's the two wallets, I think. No, that's the same wallet. Yeah, so the same wallet bought it once, actually. I've just got it on two different channels there. And so here's your 1x buy early alpha. Here is another top Degen wallet that bought more. And let's see, then it showed up one more time. So anytime you have the repeat and then whatever number is beside it, that means that's how many times it showed up in our server, like how many times it's found it in our server. Because what the bot does is it looks on every channel that we have and it tries to find the same contract address or name or something like that. So if we go back to, where did I see that? Not orderly. There it is. Yeah, see how that was a bull flag and it's already pumping out of that? So this is one that you can take a chance on, I think. Just, you know, have a mental or a stop loss set. I mean, you could set a really tight stop loss right here if you wanted to, just below that bull flag, or set it down here. But, you know, just be careful. Don't get in the habit of buying these and then just letting them sit there. You know, if the trade starts turning back against you, just go ahead and get out of it. There's always another trade. Here is one of the wallets that we track. They have $9 million worth in their wallet, and they just bought, I don't know when they bought, actually. It shows they bought over the last 24 hours, but we'll see. This thing takes a little while to load. There we go. Okay, so we do have one here that's a smart money wallet that we track that bought 1.7K worth, and they did it over the last 6 hours. So somewhere in here, they actually bought some, and you can go over here to holders and just see how many smart money you have still holding, because that's the main factor in all this. You want to see that you have smart money still holding, and it actually looks like this person sold. So you don't have any smart money in it currently, which is surprising because on that first page, it looked like you did. Yeah, anyway, I still think the chart does look pretty good, but you know, it needs more eyes on it, of course. Holders are increasing, things like that. Hobart asks, here, let me bring it up here where y'all can see it too. Well, I better just do it this way. Okay, Hobart asks, some people with crypto wallets hide what they're doing. Do you know how they do it? Could you please check BLAI on base? Yeah, I'll check BLAI. So they hide what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, it gets more sophisticated now because, you know, of course, there's a lot more ways to track what people are doing on chain. I mean, there's a lot of ways they do it. You know, that's why you see so many wallets that are transferring tokens between one another now. Like if there was no on-chain data, there was no smart money tracking, people would just stick to one wallet and they would just buy and sell with that wallet only. But now they have to, you know, move things around to different wallets, kind of like the funds do, like Animoca funds. You know, they buy a lot of gaming tokens. They have multiple wallets. You know, if a big fund like that or a big money, smart money wallet was to telegraph all the moves they were making, and you saw them depositing a large amount onto, you know, Binance or whatever it may be, then that would probably cause panic in the market. You know, if somebody was really watching that closely, and then the price would dump. So a lot of times that's why they might do that, is because they're trying to hide their activity so that, you know, if they want to use other people as liquidity and get out near the top, you know, they've got a ton of supply, of course, because they bought a lot. They're a whale. So they want to slowly, you know, sell off without causing panic, because that would hurt their bottom line too, you know, their profit. So hopefully that makes sense. I believe that's the main reason it's done and how it's done. All right. Yeah. So Degen, yeah, still looking good. I mean, that, you know, that little bull flag breaking out. I would expect it's at least going to come up here to 0001 and probably break out. I mean, we found on these live streams, we found like 20x plays, 10x plays during the live stream. You know, no matter what Bitcoin was doing, just understand that it's not easy. I mean, it does take some work. But if we go to, it's not real active this morning. Usually you've got a lot of, like when the market really gets going, you'll have a ton of tokens showing up here. just back to back to back. But this is how you would do it. Just go in here, grab your contract address and check out the chart, or check out Nansen. You know, if you use Nansen, go and see how many smart money are still holding. I'll use one of Rod's plays for an example here. So his most recent play is Z-Min at 152 yesterday. He posts these for you, by the way. This is Rodsters Degen alerts under the Degen hub here. So he posts everything you need, and he'll show you exactly what he's expecting out of the trade. You know, the ways that it, well, you're just looking for areas of support, right? That's all you care about. So if you see price start to come down here and it holds, then, you know, that's where you would take your position. You want to see a higher low formed. That's kind of what he's got there. It creates a, well, it didn't really create a higher low till up here, but yeah, basically these are the areas of support. You could just go ahead and buy as soon as it hits that level, but if it started to close more candles below that line, then just go ahead and get out, and then maybe try another buy down here. But then if it, you know, if it dropped below that, then the trade's probably done. So if we look at this one, just to kind of, I mean, he even said here it's on the risky side. We look at this one on, well, we can look at it on Nansen even. So you would just paste the contract address here. This one, it's called Bitcoin Queen. Makes me think of Queen T. Hopefully she's feeling better today. Yeah, so it's sitting here right here at support. What price is this? 279. And what did he highlight for us? I think it dropped under that price, didn't it? Yeah. So it's actually under this 39461. It's at 279. So in this case, you know, normally what I would do here if I was looking at this token is I would take a, let me get rid of this volume. I would take a fib tool and I'd go from the very bottom where it, you know, at inception when it first launched, and I would drag to the top here and then extend it out. And now what I'm looking for going forward is if this thing can recover above this blue line, the 786 fib, you know, right now I consider it very bearish, and you could even, this extends to like long-term charts too, you know, the long-term plays. It's just TA, that's all it is. It's just classical technical analysis. Currently your RSI is below 50, but it's climbing up. But I would rather see, this is your major area of resistance right now, is at, I think it's 450s, 428. So if it can close candles back above that line, then you take your long. I wouldn't do it before that. But you definitely want to see your RSI climb back above 50. What are we on? 5-minute chart? Yeah, 5 minutes fine on this. You have to use the 1 minute at first, just because the token's brand new. But if we go back to what Rod had, what is his level? He says 394. At minimum, he wouldn't take the trade unless it was above 394. And that's pretty close. Here's 394 right here, so it's pretty close to that line. So you can kind of say, yeah, that's my area that I would consider getting in this one. But keep an eye on Rod's plays. I mean, if you don't want to have to look for your own plays, Rod pretty consistently, I'd say 30, 40, 50%, he hits on these plays. But, you know, do yourself a favor and look at his chart first. Like, let's look at this one right here since it's been here for a while. This is on 927. It's called Work. Yeah, it just kept going down, maybe. Let's see. I want to bring it up on the hourly, so I, you know, always step out as far as you can first. Look at the macro view first. When we talk about macro, that's just kind of zooming out. Yeah, this doesn't really look that good. I mean, this was 0005. I'm just going to look at his chart here, see what he had. The 00042 was the last, you know, last line in the sand, basically, that you could take along. The 00042 would be about, yeah, it's something you see right there how this was support before and then it lost that support. So if we do that same thing, and it's really this simple, just grab your fib tool, go to the very bottom, you know, right here where it first launched, drag to the top, and don't grab the wicks, just, you know, go to the candle body there, drag it out, and see we're below that 786 line. Notice how the 786 is acting as support. It lost the support. Now we're just waiting for it to get back above. But, you know, this one's dead for now. I wish there was a way to put an alert on something like this easily, where you could see if it ever recovered. Because sometimes there are these things where they dip really hard, and then smart money jumps back in at the bottom because they, you know, they're insiders with whoever created the token, and then all of a sudden it pumps up and does like a 10x or something. So just understand that this can still happen. This thing hang around down here. If we look at the holders on this one, we'll just see if any whales or, you know, smart money are currently holding. Looks like whales are for sure. But, you know, this, if you see this yellow line going down, that means they're selling. You know, they're sending tokens to the exchange. And it's mostly been this person right here. They're a token deployer. So it's probably, you know, one of the devs or one of their friends. Yeah, things are flat right now. So you really can't justify jumping into this play right now, I don't think. But, you know, hopefully that makes more sense now, why Rod puts these lines where they're at and how you can take advantage of that. So let's just look. I mean, we've looked at some that haven't really worked out, right? But let me just show you one real quick that did work out. It was called Rug. This is the most recent one that he did that did work out. He did a little trend line, talked about, you know, how it could bounce off of this. Showed down here where the MACD was positive, you know, it was moving up. And I'll check the chat here in a second if there's any more questions. You can bring this up on Deck Screener as well, by the way. You don't have to use Nansen. So what I would do is I would take the contract address, I would paste it in here, click that, and I have to go up a little bit here. Okay. So same thing. You know, these tools are available on most of these, you know, DEX exchanges, whatever. Here's your Fib tool. It's called Fib retracement right there. Go from the bottom, pull to, you know, be conservative, you know, pull right up here somewhere. See how I did? I didn't do the very top. I did like the next lowest one. And look how perfect this is, how this works. So this thing came down, and I want to check Rod's numbers on this, but it came down to 000428. This works again on long-term, like our long-term plays as well. 000. So he had triple or quadruple 036. If I'm looking at, yeah, 36. Okay. Where is that? It's right in here. So look at that. He actually found, you know, showing you those numbers. He actually found the place where it pumped and then did like a bull flag type thing. You know, it came down about 50% off that pump. And that's what I'm going to show you here on Super here in just a second, one of our long-term plays, how it did this just recently and how you can take advantage of that. But, you know, pump, come down, and then it took off. So this showed you that there was renewed interest in it right here. And sometimes they hold here and take off. Sometimes they just come right back down. But this one worked out. So he told you to buy right there. And had you been watching, you could have taken his advice on that and made about a 3x. On these Degen plays, sometimes you need to take your initial investment out, you know, just to feel safer. So on a 2x, you can just take your initial out and let it ride. I know people want to ride it for that 10x for the full amount, but, you know, be safe. Go ahead and pay yourself on these plays, and, you know, that way you live to see another day in case it turns around on you. But yeah, currently it's holding on to that support. We talked about, okay, you know, if it loses 786, then comes back up here and regains it, then you can take a position there as well. But Rod actually had it way down here as the area that you could take a position. So watch his plays, because he's going to give you the right levels to watch for. And then let me just talk about Super here. So on the macro scale, this is one of our spreadsheet plays. On the macro scale, we have an inverted head and shoulders. Here's the neckline. The reason this arrow is right here is because I measured this, you know, from the head to the neckline, and then I extended it. And Tatiana already had the target set right here, but it just worked out that this extension shows that the final target should be somewhere in here, just based on this head and shoulders extension. And if we look closer on the daily chart, we have kind of what we just saw, right? Where we've got a pump, you know, showing some renewed interest here. It pumped 100% in one day. And now you're coming down, you've already retraced about 50% of this move. And then if we get even deeper into the look of it, you know, looking closer, we can see that this looks like one of those bull flags that we just saw on that other token. So this would be a pretty good place to take a position. What you could do is take a position here and maybe set a stop loss somewhere in here or even below the support. Of course, that would be a pretty big dip. That's a 30% dip there. I would at least put a 5% stop loss. So that would be around, was that 57 cents? Yeah, roughly 57. And it could come down and hit your stop. And it can be a mental one. You can just say, okay, I'm going to put an alert here. Add alert. If price crosses down of this place that I just right clicked, 56 cents, then I'm going to set myself a message, mental stop loss. And then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to follow my rules. If it falls through, then I'm out of the play. I move on to the next play, or I'll just wait until it's ready to go again. All right, let's check out chat. Yeah, thank you for posting the CA Hobart. That definitely helps. All right, let's look at, what is this called? BLAI. Check it out here on Deck Screener. So this is a base play, I believe. Yeah, base, okay. First, let's look at macro. Yeah, there's our macro view. So let's take this one from the beginning and then I'll talk about the rest of it. Somewhere in here. So notice how actually this one held the 786. Maybe even up there. Yeah. So this is pretty strong that this one, you know, initial pump held the 786, pumped, came back down, found support on that 786, pumped again. And we'll just have to see if we extend this, what we're looking at. Okay, yeah, it's holding that 786 pretty well so far. It's just above it currently. So you've got increasing volume, which I know that's not easily visible there. You do have a volume candle right there. And we could look at this on Nansen just to get a better view. Just looking at super farm there. All right, so BLAI on base, last 24-hour activity, volumes up, well, we know market cap went up, the price went up. Holders are up. There's no smart money in it currently. That's not a problem though. I mean, you do want to see smart money in there for sure. Whales have sold off a little bit. Fresh wallets have bought some. I would do this. I would do a trend line like that, maybe. Pretty close anyway. You might want to do the wicks, possibly. Yeah, maybe something more like that. Now you want to see some significant volume breaking out of this. If it does break out, you have a situation here where your retracement is fine. You know, it's retraced far enough, but from this move, just this move only, not from the inception of when it first launched, you are below the 786. So I would leave it alone currently. You know, if it does get back above the 786, then obviously it would have broken out of that downtrend line. So your line in the sand on this one is 0027. If it can recover above that, you know, above that line there, then it's ready to go again. But just understand, once you get big moves like this, what is this move? Yeah. So once you get a big 10x, 11x move and it starts to retrace like this, you know, it needs to form a base first. You know, there's no support here just yet, like it formed over here. Sometimes you even get a final dip before, you know, another pump. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see some kind of liquidity, you know, flush out, and then, you know, usually that's going to happen where it has a dip, kind of like it had back here before it pumps, because they always want to fake people out right before the pump generally. Okay. So no other questions. Let me see what else I want to show you. Okay, we've been doing about 30 minutes. We've got about 30 minutes to go. So we talked about super, looking pretty good. This is a spreadsheet play, by the way. And for anybody watching the video, if you haven't requested access to the spreadsheet, you know, Tatiana's sick right now. She will add you to the spreadsheet if you don't have it yet. But the way you would do that is you would go to the Insight Signals, go up in here to the pin section. Let me close this. Okay. So pin section, I posted on here. Here's a spreadsheet link for anyone that missed it. It's up here in the pinned thing. And then you click on this and you request access, but make sure when you request access that you also include your Discord name, because sometimes we don't know what email you're sending from. You might be sending from an email that we don't know. That happens a lot. We had to go through and remove some people recently just because, you know, we didn't know who they were, because their email didn't match what was on, you know, our list from, you know, people that had subscribed. Let's look at YGG here, because it just had an alert. Smart money. There's one smart money wallet in it. Not a whole lot of activity yet. But you do have a, look at that volume right there. Big volume after hardly anything for a while. And you're down here near support. That's good. If we jump out to like a weekly, I mean, this thing's been around for a while, so I need to look at the weekly chart. Yeah, I mean, see how it's just kind of flat? It looks like it's flatlined. I mean, eventually I think it will pump. But, you know, if we were to pull a fib on something like this, it's pretty obvious that this thing's well below where we want to see it. In this case, what I would do, I know everybody wants to buy it way down here. I mean, really the place that it needs to recover to is about $1.10, but, you know, maybe if we're just looking at the current price action, get a better idea here what you really want to watch for. So take it from the support line up to the candle body, and you're sitting right on support. So just call that your support right there at 13 cents. You'd like to see it recover 46 cents. But if you want to take a chance on something like this because you want a metaverse play, it's fine to buy it here. And then just, I mean, I don't know when it'll pump, but, you know, set you a 5% stop loss below this, because if it falls below that, it could take it a while to recover. So anyway, that's how you would want to approach that one. It had a pump. What did it do? 14 cents. Yeah, it had a really good pump, about a 10x or more move in August to April of 2020. Well, 2023 to 2024, yeah. But there were others that were having a pump right back here in October, September 2024, and this thing barely moved. So yeah, not looking great. You know, I doubt that I would jump into this one. I'd rather see something that had more interest in it right now. Let's see. Y'all tell me. I mean, would you rather me show you long-term plays, or would you rather look at, you know, Degen type stuff right now? Curious what I've got here. I've been watching Alpine to see if there's a short play there, to see if they're moving money around to sell it. Okay, well, I'll just show you what I can find. But if y'all have any, you know, feedback or anything that you want to see, let me know. Just trying to think of what else we can look at here. So we looked at Rodsters thing. Oh yeah, the Degen chat. Oh, let me show you on Twitter. I want to show you one that was really, really successful. Let's just break it down. Just gotta find out which one it was, because I forgot. Oh yeah, there it is. NL. There was another one other than that one. What's that other one? Maybe I'll just look at that NL one. Okay. So NL. It looked like this. The first signal, because you can see the seedling emoji right there. And actually, I'll just bring this up on. Let's bring this up on our Discord. I'll grab this, and then I'll paste the contract address. We're going to go all the way back to where this thing first alerted us, which was right here. 6:05, 9:27, 6:05 my time. And then we're going to paste it in here, deck screener. Okay. So you can see, and I'll also bring up MACD here because I haven't really talked about it yet. in this video anyway, you can see that this one really didn't have any downtrend at all at the very beginning. It just kind of stayed flat. At least I don't think so. Well, there was a little bit of a pump. So what you would have seen at the time was a dip first, actually. Yeah, it had a dip first. So starting here, had you taken it up there like that, I mean, this would have been a hard one to catch just because it didn't even come back down to 786. I mean, this thing showed a lot of strength at this level. So if we look at our MACD, this is another tool you can use. You want to see your MACD above this midline. So there's green. This is what we call the histogram. There's green bars above, red bars below. There's a midline right in between those. So on the lower time frames, if you get a cross up with both of your lines here, that means it's bullish. It's just like the RSI. If it's below, it's bearish. If it's above, it's bullish. But a cross up, even below the midline, can sometimes signal bullishness if it continues. So this thing, you know, MACD is not really easy to use sometimes because it'll cross down and then it'll fake out and, you know, it'll cross back up. So you have to use this the way it's intended. You know, if the blue line crosses below the red line, then you have to sell, and then if it crosses up, you have to buy. And in that regard, if you had done that, then yeah, you would have stayed in this trade. You could have sold, bought, sold again, bought again down here. So just practice with this. I would say don't do one live unless you're just practicing, you know, don't put any money in it. Just kind of go back and look at charts or watch one on like a really low time frame, like 1 minute that maybe just launched, and get used to what these indicators look like and what they should look like for a bullish move. But this one you can see, you know, it just kept going. It didn't have the typical thing where it dipped all the way below 786 and then it got back above it. I mean, obviously we would love to see this on every play where we just jump in and then it just takes off. But you know, the only way that we could have found any play like this, or the only reason I'm even talking to you about this play, is because it showed up in our signals. So the question is, do the signals work? Yes. Are they hard to use? Yes, they are. But if you use these rules, you know, that you set for yourself with the fib lines, with the MACD, RSI, whatever indicator you want to use, you know, we can bring up the RSI. It's just like anything else. You know, if you have a system and you stick to that system, you're going to make money with it. You know, you can see the RSI mostly held to 50 there. I know it dipped below it a couple times. You can go to a higher time frame and not get faked out as much on the RSI. So here we go on the hourly. You know, you're not super bearish until you're below the 50. But what you can do is, I've talked about the 30-70 rule before. You know, had you bought somewhere down here, you know, it's going up and up and up. Then you just start looking for double tops or some kind of momentum loss. I guess that was a double top there, wasn't it? You know, in the moment, this would have looked like it was going down right here because you had a lower high on your RSI. But, you know, as long as you bought way back here, what do you care? You know, you're going to let it run. You got to let your winners run. So you could have waited all the way till, you know, the 50 RSI broke down if you wanted even, and still made, what would that cross right there? Still made like a 15x, something like that. Even if you sold at this very bottom, you would have made something like that. So it's all about getting in early, right? I mean, that's what smart money is. They get in early. We want to be smart money. Okay. Let me look here. Okay. So Rab has a question. How to get millionaire in the next 5 minutes so I can please start working, so I can stop working, please bite. Yeah. Don't we all, Rab? I know you'd rather just be making music all the time. Machina said, what's your preferred time frame for Degen plays? When they first launch, you just got to do it like on a minute chart. Let's see if we have one. Let's see if we have anything. I'll bring it up over here. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, there we go. So MEOWL the cat started at 177K market cap. Looks like it's still there, but it did show up again. You've either got 2 wallets that have purchased or just Same wallet purchasing twice. Let's see. Wow, this one's actually showed up more than once. Okay, so this is an older token that's just getting going again. So let's just see. Yeah, here's the two wallets. How much do they buy? 1,800. Yeah, that's a pretty significant amount. $1,800. Okay. So we're going to go over here to Deck Screener. I mean, unfortunately, I can't show one that just launched, but I can show that it's getting more traction here. Volume pumped all of a sudden. It's kind of declining here currently. You don't want to buy into declining volume. You'd rather buy into, what do they call that? Ascending. Forgot my words for a minute. So I'm gonna have to jump here on a 4-hour chart because this one's a little bit older. But I'm gonna look at the macro view and then I'll look at another one. So it came down here. It's trying to get back up at the 786, which is good, but it's not there yet. If we go all the way back, let's just pretend that this thing just launched. Let's put this on log. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this thing just launched, had a huge dump. I don't know why that happened. Let me go to the 1-minute chart and just see. Go all the way back. Yeah, so you're going to see this pattern sometimes. Definitely keep an eye out for this. I mean, I can't even put a fib on this really, just because what's that going to help us, right? It's just going to show a bunch of blank space down here. In this case, it's very difficult to be able to say, oh, well, I'm going to buy at such and such level. You just have to wait till the bottom's in here. So in this case, if we had volume at the time, that's another indicator. If we actually saw any volume in, oh yeah, there we are right there. But you did have a big volume increase right here before the pump. So remember we were talking about Superverse. Remember we were talking about whatever that other one was, Orderly or whatever that token was, how it had a pump and then it had some kind of bull flag looking thing. Maybe it retraced the full move, but we saw the volume was there, right? I mean, they're not buying for nothing. Somebody bought there and then somebody was waiting to sell because they just wanted to get out of the token. So they sold. And now a lot of people started jumping back in. Here's volume increasing as price increases. That's a true, legit move. You have to see volume going up as price increases. If volume stands flat, then it could be a fake move. But you could have waited. I mean, one move you could have done in this case is you would have said, okay, that's my resistance right there. If it gets above it and I'm seeing volume, I'm just going to jump in and hope for the best. And that would have worked out for you, of course. But you could have done a number of other things as well. Now, here's the hard thing about these in this case. If you're seeing it dump like this, you lose interest, right? Why would you care about this token? You're just going to say, well, I'm going to wait for the next one. I don't have time, to look at this one. So how many days did this take? So from inception, 12th of May, all the way to the real breakout was 19th of August. What is that? May, June, July. Oh, I mean, that's 3 months. Who has time to watch one single coin like this that is pretty insignificant? But you're going to see this a lot where it, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, it'll fall way down. And then when everybody loses interest, they'll start accumulating. And then finally it starts getting on people's radar. And now they're pumping their bags. So it's all a game to them. They know that if they buy way down here and start to manipulate price, doing whatever they do, transferring between wallets, they can get people to jump in. And here was a huge volume spike right there. But you can use your MACD. That's one option. MACD pumped right there with this pump. Or like your RSI. I think RSI is one of the cleanest things to use. But on the 1 minute chart, it's very difficult to use. So that's why I like to use MACD very early. Yeah, you got this cross above the 50 right there. And then this cross right here coincided with our resistance breaking out there. Pretty close to it anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's tough because it kind of breaks down. You have to jump to a higher time frame once your trade gets going. Like see right here. It was way down here in oversold territory. And it got its true breakout right there about where that resistance was. And now you could have just held on your higher time frame RSI. You could have just held on here until it had a significant breakdown. It mostly kept, you just call that support right there, really on that 50 RSI, right? And then it broke down right there, and that was about the top. Easy for me to go back and say, you know, look how easy this trade was. It wasn't easy. I mean, none of these trades are ever easy. The hardest thing is having discipline, you know, entering at the right time, having patience. You know, discipline and patience are the two main things. So, yeah, you could have just checked this thing every day, or set yourself an alert here on whatever platform you use. I wonder if this thing, I'm actually curious if this was on TradingView. Okay, I'm gonna paste it here. No, yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so it's not on TradingView. So, you know, if these things were on TradingView, it'd be a lot easier. You just set your alert. I don't know how you set, there may be a way to set alerts on like Deck Screener or whatever you use. That's the way I would do it. You know, just set your alert for where you think I mean, really resistance would have been right here before this little pump right there. Oh, I made that really small. But that was your real resistance, or somewhere down here. And that ended up being support. But yeah, you want to see that breakout. Okay, so how much time have we been doing this now? 46 minutes. So I got about 15 more minutes I can do it. Let's see what whale. Oh wait, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look on this one, what whale accumulation is showing us, or if we have, yeah, there's no new ones here just yet. This one's not even a new one. If there was a new one that popped up, I'd show you. Oh, I just saw one that was a really good play. There you go. Actually, I'm curious about this one too. This one showed up in our feed, I think yesterday. I'm curious to see what it did. Oh yeah, so it went down. Okay, so how much did this go up? 5x. So this one's dipping back below the previous support. Yeah, there's a chance this could be like a Wyckoff move where it's a spring below and then it takes off again. But you have to see, I guess I'll put it right there. You have to see at least a move back above this triple four, what is it? 4 zeros and an 8. You at least need to see it back above that, and then you can take a position. But you also want to see that volume spike, right? There's a little bit of volume coming in here, but not much. There's just not enough to really mean anything. I mean, this thing could just fail and do nothing. But one I wanted to look at was, I think it was called Pibble. This one did extremely well. And notice, one thing I wanted to mention to you is, notice how, remember this repeat icon emoji? This means it's repeated 6 times on our server. So had you been watching this and you saw it repeat a second time, show up a second time, which has this 1 right here, meaning that's the second time it saw it. That means 3 different smart money wallets had bought it. If smart money continues to hold, then price is going to continue to go up most likely. But if they get out and there's no activity and they don't jump back in, then you know the token's probably done for. But if we look at this Pibble, I mean, this thing just made a massive move. If we go back and look at what it was doing at the beginning, it's a little bit different than what we looked at on some other ones. It just slowly grinded down and then all of a sudden had a huge volume spike. So as this thing comes down, I mean, another thing you can do is say, okay, you know, at each of these peaks, I can just call that resistance. And there's one kind of in there. And you can say, okay, once it gets back above that, I'm going to go ahead and buy because that's significant resistance. So in a way, this looks similar to the one we just looked at where, you know, it doesn't have this big move down over here, but it still moved down, did this little spring looking dip and then did another one. Remember how I was talking about they'll usually dump the price before they pump it just to get everybody out. And then as far as volume goes, let's see what the 5-minute looked like in this case. Yeah, there was volume spikes didn't really happen. Here's your descending volume, by the way. You don't want to be getting in when especially when prices are going down and you got descending volume. But your first real obvious volume was right there. And that's what I'm trying to do with these channels is I'd be real curious to see what date was this? September 22nd. Let's just go back here and look. Yep, look at that. So September 22nd is when we've got our first alert. There's your seedling right there, meaning it's brand new. 349K market cap. The reason why this is important, why I'm showing you this and going back and look at this, 10:37 a.m. my time was right here somewhere. Yeah, right there, 10:40. So that would have been still a really good place to enter. Well, actually, it already made a pretty good move there, but it did pump after that, I believe. Did it go any more than that? Yeah, okay, so it really pumped after that. It took it a while. But you would have actually been in close to the, it came back down here to support. You would have been close to the support, I think. Somewhere in here you would have bought. So that's where smart money was buying. They were a little bit late too. Somebody bought right here actually. And does this one show up in, yeah, it would show up in there, okay. I'm gonna show you one trick you can use to find some really good wallets. I've showed this before in videos, so you may have seen it. Why is this not, oh, there it goes. So they got this thing called Candle Inspector. And if we go back to where that was first happening, and it also gives you a view of what it looks like when smart money is really buying something. Notice here currently over the last 24 hours, you've got smart money selling off at a rate that's 13 times the normal average. And you've got tokens being sent to the exchange at 31 times the normal average. I mean, all this tells you, well, there are whales buying and fresh wallets buying, but this tells you that smart money wants to get out, that this is probably the top, at least for now. So if we look at, there we are right there, okay. So there's our downtrend, it was just flat, and then all of a sudden, let's just see how early we could have gotten here. Sometimes I add, this is how I add all, wallets to the things that or the wallets that we have on our alerts. But I'm looking for smart money wallets. I don't want just any wallet. So turn the candle inspector on. We look at this first volume, this big volume candle. We might see, we saw a high balance wallet, I believe, popped up there for a second. Oh yeah, see. So if you see the green tag ever in one of the videos, that means that this is a wallet that we track. We track both of these. I'll probably look at this guy right here. Will jeet soon. He probably did jeet shortly after that. So 3 smart money wallets jumped in on that candle, and that's where you should have been jumping in too, if you were watching the alerts. You don't have to trade all the time, by the way. When you have time, check the alerts, see if there's anything useful, see if there's a big volume spike on the chart, and maybe you want to jump in because of that. But you'll notice what we were talking about there. Somewhere in here is where those smart money wallets bought. It ended up being support for a long time, and then it pumped again all of a sudden. So had you bought in that area, where was it again? Back, yeah, it was way down here. So had you bought in that area, even if you bought way up here, you still made some good money. So maybe you missed this whole move and you jumped into the top, but you decided to just go ahead and hold through it. You made like a 10x. I mean, that just goes to show you don't have to buy the bottom once these things get going, but you do have to be patient. This was from September 22nd to September 29th that you had to wait. But a week, waiting a week for a 10x, I don't think anybody would complain about that. So anyway, I hope that was helpful looking at some of these things with you. Just make sure there's no other chat. Yeah, you're welcome, Shana. Hey, Jack, welcome. I did record this, by the way, Jack, so you'll be able to watch it. We went over some smart money plays, long-term plays, and mostly we were looking at Degen things because I want y'all to learn how to do that if you're interested in the Degen. I mean, again, Degen is just like leverage trading. You do need to have stop losses in place, at least in your mind. And if it gets below, 5% of where you entered or 30% below where you entered, then just go ahead and, get out of the play. And if it gets back above your support level, then get back in. But, we also have the curated plays that Rod does. Don't forget that. The Rodsters Degen alerts, he'll mark the levels for you that you can watch. And of course, if it falls below one of those levels, then just get out. Save yourself that money. I think, Jack, do you have any questions? Because I've got about 5 more minutes if there's anything you want to talk about. I just want to make sure that I'm covering everything for everybody. We did talk about Super, by the way. Super's looking pretty good. This may be an area to buy some. It could still come down here to 52 cents, but this has all of the hallmarks of, interest is starting to come into this token. We just don't know, is Bitcoin going to dip one more time before we pump? It could. Okay, yeah, great. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up there. I don't want to make the video too long. I'll timestamp it as usual, I think. Yeah, I'll timestamp it for the specific tokens that I talked about. Y'all can jump around. And a lot of good that does for people watching the video now, right? So the whole video, and then I'll say I'm going to timestamp it. Okay, well, y'all have a good week. I'm going to get to work. And let me know if y'all got any questions on anything. I'll be checking the chat and things throughout the day as I'm working. All right, appreciate y'all joining, guys. Thank you.